Welcome to The Debate. You know, when you look at a football pitch, you usually see this vast, fluid canvas. It's 22 players, unpredictable bounces, and, well, pure human instinct.
Total chaos, really. And for over a century, we've just accepted that ambiguity as part of the romance of the sport.
Exactly. We accept human error. We accept that a linesman sprinting down the touchline might miss a slight deflection in a crowded penalty box because, frankly, biological eyes have limits.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Right, but fast forward to this 2026 World Cup, and suddenly that fluid, messy canvas is placed under an electron microscope.
A massive one. We are looking at a tactical landscape that has been entirely digitized. We're talking about 16 cameras bolted into the rafters of every single stadium, throwing off 150 million tracking points per match.
It's staggering.
It really is. And we have sensors suspended inside the actual match ball now.
And maybe most profoundly, we have Lenovo's Football AI Pro system. It's this platform that processes petabytes of historical and live tracking data across more than 2,000 football-specific metrics. And they have placed it directly onto the mobile phones and tablets of every single coaching staff in the tournament.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is, which brings us to the core disagreement we are exploring today. Does democratizing this insane level of advanced football intelligence genuinely level the playing field for smaller teams?
Right. That is the big question.
So I will argue that giving equal data access and objective AI officiating to every nation gives a massive built-in advantage to the underdog. It effectively wipes out the historical advantage of elite scouting networks, and, it removes the subconscious referee bias that has always protected the giants of the sport.
And I will argue that equal access to data absolutely does not mean equal utility. Raw data is entirely meaningless without the deeply ingrained tactical frameworks required to actually deploy it under pressure.
Okay.
I believe elite teams with established analytical infrastructures will ultimately weaponize these technologies far more effectively. Furthermore, the hyper-precise clinical nature of AI officiating actually punishes these scrappy physical defensive tactics that smaller teams have historically relied upon to survive against superior opponents.
Well, let's start by looking at this from a professional coaching perspective, because the foundational shift in how these managers prepare is just staggering.
Sure.
Historically, the gap between a traditional powerhouse like Spain and a smaller nation playing in its first World Cup, like, say, Cape Verde, who were ranked 67th in the world, was entirely defined by resources.
100%. The financial gap translated directly into a tactical gap.
Exactly. Before this tournament, Spain could afford a small army of analysts. They used massive computing power to track opponent tendencies, map out heat zones, build complex predictive models. A team like Cape Verde simply could not afford that.
Right.
But the introduction of Lenovo's Football AI Pro changes that structural inequality overnight. It acts as a knowledge assistant that pulls from multiple AI tools, giving every single team, from vastly experienced Spain to a debutante like Curacao, the exact same foundation of data.
Mathematically equal, yes.
More than mathematically. Suddenly, a manager making a fraction of Spain's budget is looking at the exact same tactical insights. The intelligence that used to require a multi-million-dollar backroom operation is literally on a manager's mobile phone for immediate sideline access.
Yeah, but
if you're a coach for a smaller nation, you can instantly review individual and team performance metrics mid-game and make precise, data-backed adjustments. That used to be the exclusive domain of the elite.
it sounds incredible on paper, but you have to consider the reality of cognitive load in professional coaching. You are entirely correct that the distribution of the technology is equal. Every team has the app. Every team has the 2,000 metrics.
Right.
But let's look at what Lenovo's Global President of Solutions and Services, Ken Wong, actually admitted regarding this rollout. He explicitly stated, and I quote, "Some teams use and will use Football AI Pro better than others."
Well, sure. Obviously, there's a learning curve.
He acknowledged that their job is not to teach the teams how to use the tool, but merely to democratize the proprietary assets.
But having the asset is the first step to leveling the playing field.
But it's not the only step. And this is exactly where the underdog narrative falls apart for me.
If you hand a brilliant, highly complex power tool to an established engineering firm, and you hand that exact same tool to a passionate startup operating out of a garage, the established firm has the operational frameworks to maximize its output immediately.
I see what you're saying, but
Elite football federations have spent the last 2 decades building the tactical scaffolding necessary to translate petabytes of tracking data into on-pitch strategy. They know how to filter the noise. They know exactly which 5 of those 2,000 metrics correlate to their specific high-pressing triggers.
right, they have experience with analytics.
Exactly. So for a smaller coaching staff consisting of a manager and 2 assistants, an influx of petabytes of data during a high-stakes match isn't an equalizer. It's a massive distraction.
Wait. I'll give you that looking at a spreadsheet of 2,000 metrics mid-game would be a distraction. But that's not what they are doing. Let's look at the actual results we are witnessing in this tournament.
Okay.
The volatility has been completely unprecedented, and it directly maps on to how smaller teams are using this technology. You mentioned Cape Verde earlier. They used this exact system to hold co-favorite Spain to a 0-0 draw in Atlanta, and then they came from behind to draw 2-2 with Uruguay.
Which was a great game, admittedly.
It was. We also saw Paraguay eliminate 4-time champion Germany. This isn't random. This is the direct result of smaller coaching staffs using AI tools to instantly review match data and neutralize the tactical superiority of their opponents.
Come on, you really think an iPad app is the sole reason Cape Verde held Spain to a draw?
From a tactical standpoint, absolutely. Think about it from the manager's seat. When you are managing a low block defense, where you essentially park the bus and pack all your defenders deep near the penalty box to choke off space against Spain's tiki-taka, that quick, short passing designed to pull your defense apart, the margins are razor thin.
They are.
Previously, if Spain shifted their attacking focal point slightly to the left in the 30th minute, an underdog manager had to rely on raw intuition to spot the pattern from ground level. Now, the AI identifies that shift in real time.
Yes, it spots the trend.
It highlights that Spain's wingers are cutting inside 15% more frequently. The coach can adjust the defensive line's depth instantly.
I have to stop you there because you are drawing a massive causal link between the technology and the tournament volatility, while completely ignoring the format change.
The format change?
Yes, we are playing an expanded 48-team tournament now. Basic statistical probability dictates that introducing more teams, particularly in a group stage dynamic, will produce a higher volume of surprise results and variance. You cannot attribute Cape Verde's defensive resilience solely to a mobile app.
It's not just an app, though, it's the intelligence behind it.
But let's look at the sheer depth of the data Lenovo is providing. They developed an AI-powered 3D model of all 1,248 players competing this summer. These avatars support offside reviews, yes, but they also offer profound biomechanical insights.
Hold on, what do you mean by avatars? Are we talking about some video game rendering running on a tablet on the bench?
Effectively, yes. The 16 stadium cameras capture the exact skeletal framework of every player. So analyzing the hip orientation of a 3D avatar to predict a winger's crossing trajectory is entirely possible now.
Oh, wow.
But doing that requires a level of tactical sophistication that heavily favors elite backrooms. A powerhouse team has the specialized analysts to look at the biomechanics of those avatars and design bespoke pressing traps based on which opposing defender takes an extra half second to pivot on his weaker foot.
Okay, sure, that's highly advanced.
Right. An underdog coach managing a squad of lower-tier professionals simply does not have the time or the personnel to translate 3D skeletal data into a Tuesday night training session.
Okay, I see what you're saying about the sheer volume of data being overwhelming. But you are looking at the volume as a burden, while I view the AI as the great synthesizer. Let me offer an analogy from outside of football.
Let's hear it.
Think about the chess world. For decades, the Soviet chess machine dominated globally because they had the wealth, the grandmaster schools, and the resources to analyze every possible opening variation. A lone player from a smaller country had virtually no chance.
True.
But then, chess engines, supercomputers like Stockfish, became available to everyone on their home computers. Suddenly, a teenager in Norway or India could perfectly prepare against a grandmaster's opening. The engine neutralized the historical advantage of wealth, and institutional resources.
Okay, the stockfish comparison is really good. I'll give you that.
Right? And Football AI Pro is doing the exact same thing on the pitch. The AI agent acts as a supercomputer, doing the heavy analytical lifting. The coach doesn't need a team of 20 analysts to parse the 3D avatars. The knowledge assistant synthesizes those petabytes of tracking data and highlights only the actionable insight.
But is it that simple?
It tells the underdog coach Spain's left back is leaving a 15-yard gap when in transition. It hands them the perfect tactical move. The tech acts as the ultimate equalizer because it democratizes the insight, not just the raw data.
But here is where your chessboard analogy breaks down. Finding the perfect move implies a perfect, static environment with alternating turns. But football is a continuous, deeply physical invasion game.
Well, obviously it's physical.
And that brings me to how this technology dictates the actual tactics on the pitch, through officiating. This level of microscopic enforcement fundamentally alters how coaches can set up their teams.
How so?
Take the June 15th match in Monterrey. Sweden was thrashing Tunisia. Matthias Swanberg came off the bench and scored with his first touch. The linesman flagged it for offside. Now all 16 of those highly calibrated cameras, the ones triangulating your 3D avatars, actually missed what happened next.
Because of the cluster of bodies in the box.
Exactly. The only reason the goal ultimately stood was because the sensor inside the ball caught it. There is an inertial measurement unit, an IMU chip, suspended in the center of the ball, gathering movement data 500 times a second.
Right, it's incredibly precise.
That chip registered a microscopic, faint flick off Alexander Isak's shoulder that reset the play and left Svanberg onside. Or look at Miami, when Colombia's Davinson Sanchez had a stoppage time winner wiped out against Portugal because a video review ruled his toe was offside by a margin completely invisible to the human eye.
But they got the call right.
Yes, mechanically, they got it right. But look at the tactical consequence. When a coach knows that a faint flick of a shoulder or a stray toe will be caught with 100% certainty, it forces them to abandon aggressive, high-risk attacking tactics. It makes the game sterile.
I completely disagree that accuracy makes it sterile.
If you are an underdog that relies on chaotic set pieces, throwing bodies into the box, and scraping out a messy goal to score an upset, this absolute microscopic enforcement destroys your tactical win condition. You cannot scrap out a messy physical goal against a giant if the ball's internal sensor is policing every single millimeter. It neuters the underdog's best defensive and offensive weapon, which is chaos.
Look, if you're listening to this and thinking, why is a perfectly accurate call a bad thing for the underdog? You have to realize that objective truth is the greatest shield a smaller team possesses.
A shield?
Yes, you are equating chaotic and scrappy with some kind of noble underdog tactic, but you're ignoring who usually benefits from chaos. Historically, human referees are deeply susceptible to the pressure of the occasion. In a packed stadium with 80,000 fans screaming, a human referee might subconsciously favor a powerhouse like Germany in a tight 50-50 call in the penalty area.
I mean, that happens.
The subconscious bias toward the elite is a well-documented phenomenon in football history. The big teams get the big calls.
Sometimes, yes. But
the AI doesn't care about the crest on the shirt. It doesn't hear the crowd. Remember how Paraguay eliminated Germany in the knockout rounds this summer?
vaguely,
A controversial VAR call wiped out a German extra-time goal for a foul in the box. In previous eras, without the multi-angle camera tracking and objective review, that goal almost certainly stands. The referee swallows his whistle, Germany advances, and the underdog story dies. The AI protected Paraguay.
it protected them in that instance, sure.
And I think we need to be precise about how this AI is actually operating, because it's not some omnipotent robot taking over the game. Chen-Ling Xu, a computer vision researcher at the University of Rochester, explained exactly how this system works. It runs on neural networks trained on millions of labeled images, very similar to the perception stack in the self-driving car.
Right.
Xu noted that the system is incredibly fast specifically because it is completely narrow. It is tuned for one single job, which is recognizing players and a ball. It measures a body's position at the exact instant the ball is struck, but And this is the crucial tactical point. It stays out of the subjective call.
Meaning it doesn't decide intent.
Exactly. It does not decide if an offside player is actually interfering with the goalkeeper's line of sight. The machine gets the precise measurement, but the human referee keeps the contextual judgment. It is, as the engineers call it, assistive intelligence. It isn't a sterile robot dictating tactics. It's merely providing the human referee with the objective truth of where bodies are located, which levels the playing field.
Assistive, sure, but we really have to look at the engineering reality of using this technology in the heat of a match. The strict real-time constraints dictate what is actually tactically possible for a coach.
What do you mean?
Let's look at one of the most visible new technologies this tournament, the referee view camera. Ken Wong detailed the immense practical engineering problems Lenovo faced just getting a stabilized video feed from the referee's head to the broadcaster. When Lenovo first attempted this, they pushed everything into a single large language model.
Which makes no sense for video processing.
Exactly. Large language models are essentially text prediction engines. When they tried to force high-definition, real-time video through one massive model, it failed spectacularly. The latency was far too high, and the power consumption was massive.
Right, so they had to fix it.
So they had to completely rebuild a pipeline around their internal XIQ architecture. They utilized parallel processing, dividing the AI video stabilizing job into 4 separate subtasks, managed by 4 smaller models working simultaneously just to get the latency down to a usable level.
Right, they optimized the pipeline.
Yes, but think about the implication for the underdog coach. If a global tech giant like Lenovo struggles with latency and power constraints just to stabilize a single video feed in real time, how can we realistically expect 3 coaches on a bench to leverage petabytes of tracking data and 2,000 metrics tactically in the middle of a frantic World Cup match?
Because they aren't the ones doing the processing.
But the environment is simply too volatile. Ken Wong himself said, "We're not football experts," noting they had originally applied this exact same technology to supply chain quality control. But a football match is not a manufacturing supply chain. The sheer pace of the game outstrips the ability of an under-resourced coaching staff to synthesize that data into a 45th-minute tactical substitution.
But that massive engineering challenge you just described is exactly why the technology is ready for the underdog coach right now. The heavy lifting has already been completed by the engineers so that the coach doesn't have to worry about the latency.
I'm just skeptical of the speed.
Well, Lenovo's Chief Technology Officer, Tolga Kurtoglu, explained that this isn't some untested experiment they threw at the World Cup. They deployed early versions of these technologies at the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. They used that entire tournament as a massive beta test to learn, iterate, and solve those exact parallel processing issues.
But the sheer volume of data?
The infrastructure handling that volume is staggering. They aren't running this on the iPads themselves. They have ThinkSystem servers operating at FIFA's International Broadcast Center in Dallas that process and distribute live match content to over 1,000 screens across the venues.
Right.
Because they optimize that cloud infrastructure, they've cut streaming latency from roughly 40 seconds down to under 5 seconds.
5 seconds is fast, yes.
So to directly address your point about the frantic pace of the game, a coach on the sideline isn't waiting a full minute for an AI model to render an answer. The intelligent command center and the AI agents are delivering real-time tactical summaries in under 5 seconds. The small nation coach doesn't need to be a data scientist figuring out parallel processing. They just receive the optimized tactical insight instantly. It is plug-and-play tactical brilliance.
Okay, but plug-and-play tactical brilliance completely assumes the players on the pitch have the physical and technical capacity to execute the adjustment. Let's go back to your tactical example.
Okay.
If the AI tells a lower-tier team they need to perfectly execute a high-pressing trap because the data shows the opposing center back struggles on his weaker left foot under pressure, that insight is totally useless if the underdog's forwards lack the synchronized stamina, the lungs, and the positional discipline to execute that trap without leaving gaping holes in their own midfield.
It's a fair point about physical limits, obviously.
It's the deciding factor. Traditional powerhouses have the physical and technical profiles to execute whatever complex adjustment the data suggests.
A top-tier squad can transition from a low block to a high press effortlessly. An underdog squad often cannot. That is exactly why the structural advantage remains intact, regardless of how fast the servers in Dallas process the video.
But isn't knowing the exact physical limitations of your own squad part of the data being provided?
How so?
The AI isn't just analyzing the opponent, it's using those avatars to track the biomechanics and fatigue levels of your own players. It allows the underdog coach to manage their limited physical resources with surgical precision, telling them exactly when a midfielder's stamina has dropped below the threshold required to maintain the press.
Tracking fatigue is helpful, but it doesn't generate new stamina out of thin air.
No, but it optimizes what you have. So to summarize my position on this, we are witnessing a fundamental democratization of the sport by taking advanced football intelligence out of the elite backrooms and placing it into the hands of every single team via mobile AI agents. We have closed the resource gap.
I hear you.
The low-latency tactical insights provided by Lenovo's infrastructure, combined with the objective, bias-free enforcement of the rules by computer vision, provide professional coaches from smaller nations with the precise tools needed to dismantle traditional football hierarchies. The unprecedented upsets we've seen in this tournament, Paraguay advancing over Germany, Cape Verde holding Spain, are the direct, undeniable result of this technological leveling.
And to summarize my stance, while the mathematical distribution of the technology is entirely equal, football is ultimately played and managed by humans on the pitch, not by servers in Dallas.
Fair.
The raw data provided by these systems requires complex, deeply ingrained tactical frameworks and physical execution to be used effectively. Frameworks that established footballing powers have spent decades perfecting. Furthermore, the hyper-precise, clinical nature of the AI officiating strips away the chaotic, physical variables that smaller teams have historically used to level the playing field against superior technical squads. The data is equal, yes, but the capacity to weaponize that data remains heavily skewed toward the traditional elite.
It is just a fascinating tension to watch unfold. The sport has undeniably experienced a permanent shift in how it is analyzed and officiated. Watching how teams, both the giants and the underdogs, continue to adapt their mid-game tactics to these new technological constraints over the remainder of the World Cup will certainly reveal much more about the intersection of human strategy and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. We are watching the evolution of the sport happen in real time, in under 5 seconds of latency, and seeing whether perfect data can ever truly tame a beautifully imperfect game.
So, as we look back at that fluid, messy canvas of the football pitch, it turns out that when you put it under the microscope, the universe of data you find doesn't necessarily eliminate the chaos. It just forces all of us, coaches, players, and fans, to navigate it with a completely new set of eyes. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.